Today, we are stepping behind the circulation desk to expose the absolute madness librarians deal with daily. From people demanding they rewrite history to those who think Wi-Fi routers steal their thoughts, we are breaking down the bizarre logic and sheer absurdity of public library complaints. We will explain exactly why these demands break the laws of physics, law, and basic common sense. 1. An angry patron demanded to know why she had to wait in a digital queue to borrow an ebook. She yelled that it is just a computer file, so the library should just copy and paste it for everyone. Here is the mind-blowing reality of digital publishing. Publishers treat library ebooks like physical copies. They force libraries to buy expensive digital licenses that often expire after exactly 26 checkouts. Librarians cannot just hit duplicate without committing massive copyright fraud. 2. A senior citizen furiously slammed his tablet on the circulation desk, complaining that downloading 5 heavy historical biographies made his device physically heavier to carry. He wanted the books removed to save his wrists. From a quantum physics standpoint, downloading data just rearranges electrons in the flash memory. It does not add measurable mass. A library card gives you access to a world of knowledge, but it definitely does not alter the laws of gravity. 3. That classic old book smell is legendary, but one younger reader filed a formal grievance saying the historical archives smelled like dusty old people. She aggressively demanded the staff spray the 100-year-old documents with an aerosol fabric freshener. That distinct vanilla scent actually comes from the chemical breakdown of lignin, a polymer in wood pulp paper. Spraying harsh liquid chemicals on a first edition would instantly melt the historical artifact they are trying to protect. 4. You would be shocked by how many people think the Dewey Decimal System is a government tracking program. One guy refused to check out a book on urban farming because he thought the numeric code on the spine was a CIA microchip identifier. Melville Dewey created this system in 1876, simply to put similar subjects on the same shelf. It is just basic math and categorization, not a deep state plot to monitor your carrot garden. 5. Many modern libraries offer free 3-dimensional printing, which is amazing until a guy comes in expecting to print a fully functional electric toaster. When the librarian explained the machine only uses basic polylactic acid plastic, he filed a complaint for false advertising. Libraries provide access to basic prototyping tools to spark community innovation. They are not a heavy manufacturing plant, and you absolutely cannot plug a plastic box into a wall outlet to make breakfast. 6. Imagine getting yelled at because a historical biography ruined your weekend. One patron filed a serious complaint about a book covering the sinking of the Titanic, furious that the author did not include a spoiler warning before the ship went down. History does not have spoiler alerts, folks. Librarians are the guardians of the collective human memory, but they cannot rewrite the early 20th century just to give a maritime disaster a happy ending. 7. Late fees are designed as behavioral nudges, not as a city revenue stream. Yet, one woman who owed $3 for an overdue romance novel tried to clear her debt by offering a slightly warm tuna casserole. When the librarian politely declined, the woman accused the library of having terrible customer service. Municipal governments have very strict financial accounting laws, and unfortunately, baked goods are not recognized as legal tender by the city auditor. 8. The outdoor book drop box is a simple gravity-fed chute, but one patron poured a massive cup of hot coffee down the slot and then complained that her returned books got wet. She genuinely thought there was some kind of magical conveyor belt that whisked the books away instantly. Book drops are just metal boxes with springs inside to cushion the fall. They are completely defenseless against someone using them as a municipal trash can. 9. You might think alphabetical order is the easiest concept on Earth. Not for one guy who was absolutely furious that authors with last names starting with the letter Z were placed on the bottom shelf. He called it alphabet discrimination and demanded the books be reorganized by how tall the authors were. Organizing by the alphabet is a universally understood search algorithm. Sorting novels by author height would turn the entire building into unsearchable chaos. 10. Interlibrary loans are an incredible service where libraries ship rare books across the country for free. One college student requested a specialized medical text from a university 4 states away and filed a complaint when it did not arrive in 2 hours. He actually thought the library used a fleet of private drones. The reality check is that these books travel through the standard postal network. Libraries are brilliant, but they have not mastered teleportation. 11. We all know the golden rule of libraries is to keep quiet. Surprisingly, a woman submitted a written grievance stating the silence in the reading room was deafening and caused her extreme anxiety. She demanded the staff play soft rock to liven up the vibe. The acoustic architecture of these buildings is specifically engineered to absorb sound and promote deep focus. Turning a sanctuary of concentration into a cheap coffee shop completely defeats its purpose. 12. A heavily annoyed reader brought a popular mystery novel back to the desk, disgusted that the pages looked slightly worn. She demanded an unopened, brand-new copy directly from the publisher. The entire economic model of a public library is based on extreme communal sharing. In fact, many books are purchased with special reinforced library binding, specifically designed to survive over 100 checkouts. If you want an unbroken spine, you are looking for a bookstore. 13. Libraries serve incredibly diverse communities, which means shelves are packed with foreign language texts. One patron grabbed a thick novel entirely in Russian, brought it to the desk, and demanded the librarian read it out loud to him in English. While librarians are highly educated professionals, a Master of Library Science degree does not come with a neural translator chip. They organize the information, but you still have to possess the skills to process it yourself. 14. Librarians manage community events, not the local weather. A patron once threw a massive fit because a thunderstorm started while she was reading. She demanded the library staff provide a complimentary golf cart shuttle to her car so her suede shoes would not get ruined. Public libraries operate on razor-thin municipal budgets. Fleet vehicles and personal chauffeurs across the parking lot are definitively not approved by the local city council during funding meetings. 15. Free Wi-Fi is a lifesaver, unless you are the woman who demanded they unplug the main router because the invisible waves were messing with her crystal healing jewelry. She insisted the librarians were digitally polluting the reading room. The actual physics check here is that radio waves from routers are non-ionizing radiation. They literally lack the energy to mess with human cells, let alone a piece of quartz you bought at a flea market. 16. Printing out legal documents at the library usually costs 10 or 20 cents a page. A man printing a massive lawsuit lost his mind over a $4 charge, arguing that since trees grow in the dirt for free, paper should be free. He completely ignored the global supply chain of logging, shipping, and manufacturing. More importantly, printer toner is one of the most expensive liquids on Earth, often costing more per ounce than vintage champagne. 17. There is always that one person who claims they pay your salary because they pay local taxes. One guy took this logic to a criminal level when he tried to walk out the front doors carrying a heavy oak reading chair. When security stopped him, he argued that as a taxpayer, he was just taking his fractional dividend. Public ownership means shared access for everyone, not a free furniture liquidation sale for your living room. 18. Large print books exist for visually impaired readers, but they take up massive amounts of shelf space. A patron checked out a standard paperback and later called the desk in a rage. She demanded the librarian press a button on their computer to make the text on her physical book larger, treating the paper like an iPad screen. Physical printing relies on permanent ink bonded to paper fibers. Shouting at a librarian will not magically stretch out a font size. 19. The divide between fiction and nonfiction is the foundation of library science. Yet, a man was absolutely furious after reading a science fiction novel about a Martian invasion. He came back yelling that the library was spreading fake news about the space program. The librarian gently pointed out the giant yellow sci-fi sticker on the spine. Understanding genre distinctions is a critical thinking skill, but the concept of making things up is deeply offensive to some people. 20. The children's section is brightly colored and specifically designed for interactive play. Still, a man who chose to do his taxes right next to the toddler storytime area complained that the 3-year-olds were singing too loudly. Early childhood literacy programs use sound, rhyme, and play to build crucial neural pathways for language development. If you want absolute pin-drop silence, sitting next to a puppet show is a massive strategic error on your part. 21. History is messy, and old books reflect the times they were written in. A health nut filed a furious complaint because a cookbook from the 1950s did not offer any keto-friendly or gluten-free substitutes. She demanded the library pull it off the shelf because it was nutritionally dangerous. Libraries function as time capsules. They preserve the exact context of the past. They do not rewrite 50-year-old recipes just to match modern dietary trends. 22. Getting completely absorbed in a fantasy series is a great feeling, until you reach the end of published material. A highly upset reader yelled at the desk staff because the next book in a famously delayed epic dragon series was not on the shelf. When told the author simply had not finished writing it yet, she accused the staff of hoarding the good books in the back room. Librarians are amazing, but they cannot bend time to extract unwritten manuscripts. 23. Older municipal buildings often have incredibly aggressive climate control systems. One visitor submitted a typed grievance claiming the true crime section was haunted by an angry spirit creating freezing cold spots. She demanded the city hire a paranormal investigator. The reality is that archival preservation requires strict temperature and humidity control to prevent mold spores from eating the paper. It is just an industrial HVAC system kicking into overdrive, not a poltergeist haunting the Stephen King shelf. 24. Doing historical research often requires using a microfiche machine to read old newspapers. A patron complained that scrolling through the glowing green text was giving them motion sickness and demanded the librarian just summarize the events of 1972 for them. Librarians are there to guide you to the correct resources, not to act as your personal research assistant and read a decade's worth of local news to save you from a slight headache. 25. Borrowing movies is a huge perk, but optical media requires care. A man returned an action movie DVD covered in deep scratches and blamed the library for making it defective. When pressed, he casually admitted he used a green kitchen scrubbing sponge to clean the disc before playing it. Polycarbonate plastic is incredibly fragile. You cannot treat a DVD like a dirty frying pan and then act shocked when your movie starts violently skipping on the television. 26. A furious woman marched to the desk demanding a printed list of every book her husband had checked out over the past year to see if he was planning a divorce. She threatened to call the police when the librarian refused. Here is the legal reality. Library records are protected by strict state privacy laws. Librarians will gladly go to federal court to protect your reading history. They are not your personal private investigators for marital disputes. 27. You would be amazed how many people treat the reference desk like a free medical clinic. A patron angrily slammed his arm on the counter, demanding the librarian diagnose his mysterious rash using a medical encyclopedia. Librarians have master's degrees in information science, not medical licenses. Providing specific diagnostic advice is considered the unauthorized practice of medicine and carries massive legal liability. They can point you to a medical book, but you still need a real doctor. 28. Public computers are heavily utilized, but they are not personal devices. A man filed a furious complaint because the public terminal forgot his email password from the day before. He thought the library was actively deleting his data to mess with him. In reality, public libraries use deep freeze software. Every time a user logs off, the computer completely wipes the hard drive to protect against malware and identity theft. It is basic cybersecurity, not a conspiracy. 29. People love donating old books, but one guy completely lost his mind when the library rejected his massive boxes of damp encyclopedias from 1984. He accused them of hating knowledge. The truth behind collection management is brutal. Processing a donation often costs more in staff labor than the book is worth. Plus, damp books contain mold spores, which act like a highly contagious plague that can easily spread and destroy the entire physical collection. 30. Librarians are incredibly helpful, but they draw a hard line at the law. A patron submitted a formal complaint because the staff refused to help him draft a legally binding divorce settlement. He argued that since they have law books, they should act as his free attorneys. Giving specific legal advice without a license is a serious crime. Librarians can show you where the legal templates are located, but they cannot represent you in a courtroom. 31. The photocopier is a battleground of frustration. One patron aggressively kicked the machine and yelled at the staff because it refused to print color copies of a $100 bill for his art project. He claimed the machine was broken. Actually, almost all modern color copiers contain secret anti-counterfeiting software that recognizes a specific pattern of dots on global currency. The machine deliberately jams to prevent you from committing federal treasury fraud. 32. Tax season brings out the absolute worst in people. A woman submitted a furious online review because the reference librarian handed her blank IRS forms, but refused to calculate her capital gains taxes for her. She felt the municipal government owed her this service. Just like medicine and law, giving financial advice carries massive federal liability. Librarians provide the paperwork, but they are not certified public accountants willing to risk federal prison for your tax return. 33. Finding a bug in a book is gross, but one patron demanded the city shut down the entire branch because he found a tiny dead insect near the spine of a novel. He claimed the place was infested. Those are usually silverfish or book lice, microscopic insects that are naturally attracted to the starchy glue used in bookbinding. Libraries use highly advanced integrated pest management, but occasionally, a bug finds its way to the all-you-can-eat glue buffet. 34. Natural light is beautiful, but a reader complained that the massive reading room windows were tinted too dark, demanding they be replaced with clear glass for a better view. That dark tint is actually heavy UV filtering film. Ultraviolet light breaks down the chemical bonds in paper and ink, causing irreversible fading and structural damage to the books. The library sacrifices a perfect view of the parking lot to prevent the archives from disintegrating in the sun. 35. People love free recipes, but one woman took it too far by physically ripping a page out of a new cooking magazine. When fined for the damage, she argued she was doing the next reader a favor by saving them time. Magazines in libraries are often bound together and kept in permanent archives for historical research. Ripping out a page is literally the destruction of municipal property, no matter how good that lasagna recipe looked. 36. Accidents happen, but human logic often fails in the aftermath. A patron accidentally dropped a library book in the bathtub and tried to dry it by putting it in their kitchen microwave. When the book caught fire, they demanded the library pay for their damaged appliance. Many modern library books contain hidden metallic RFID security tags. Microwaving metal instantly creates electrical arcing. The library is not responsible for your lack of basic kitchen safety. 37. Digital audiobooks are a massive hit, but one listener was deeply offended by the narrator's voice in a thriller novel. She called the circulation desk and demanded the library re-record the entire 15-hour book with a different actor by the next morning. Libraries simply purchase digital distribution licenses from massive publishing houses. They do not have $1 million sound studio in the basement to instantly produce custom audio tracks for picky listeners. 38. Closing time is strictly enforced, but a college student felt the rules did not apply to him. He hid in the public restroom until after the staff locked up, planning to pull an all-nighter. When the police arrived, he complained the library was stifling his academic freedom. Municipal buildings are armed with high-end motion sensors. Staying after hours is legally considered trespassing, and the local police department does not care about your midterm exams. 39. Many libraries offer notary services, but it is a serious legal function. A businessman grew furious and threatened to sue when a librarian refused to notarize a completely blank piece of paper for him to fill out later. He claimed she was obstructing his business. State laws strictly forbid notarizing blank documents because it is an open invitation to massive identity theft and fraud. A notary seal is a legal guarantee, not a blank check for scams. 40. Doing historical research often requires using microfilm machines. A younger patron complained that the digital scans of a 1940 newspaper were in black and white, demanding the staff switch the machine to color mode. Photography in the 1940s was overwhelmingly black and white, and cheap newspapers definitely did not use color ink. Furthermore, archival microfilm uses silver halide technology for its 500-year stability, which is strictly a monochromatic chemical process. 41. Libraries provide incredible access to genealogy databases. A woman doing family research stormed up to the desk, demanding the library delete a historical census record because it showed her great-grandfather was in prison for horse theft. She claimed it was defamation. Historical archives document exactly what happened in the past without public relations filters. Librarians cannot hack into federal census data just because your ancestors had a terrible criminal record. 42. Security is a top priority in public spaces. A patron left his expensive laptop completely unattended on a table for 3 hours while he went to get lunch. When he returned to find it moved to the security desk, he accused the staff of attempted theft. Unattended bags in government buildings trigger strict security protocols due to the risk of explosives or organized theft rings. You cannot treat a public table like your personal living room vault. 43. Visual aesthetics matter to some people more than logic. A patron complained that the white spine label on a fantasy novel covered up part of the dragon's tail on the cover art. She demanded they remove all stickers from the entire collection. Spine labels contain the call numbers, which are the exact geographic coordinates of a book in a building containing hundreds of thousands of items. Without those stickers, the library instantly becomes a massive, unsearchable black hole. 44. The children's section is full of educational tablets designed for kids. A 30-year-old man threw a massive tantrum because the staff asked him to stop playing games on the toddler iPad. He argued that his taxes paid for it. Those devices are restricted to children due to strict digital privacy laws and child safety regulations. A grown adult aggressively hogging a preschool spelling game is exactly why those safety protocols exist in the first place. 45. Shipping rare items across the country is a modern miracle. A researcher requested an extremely rare, fragile manuscript from an out-of-state museum and complained bitterly about the $20 insurance fee. They argued that mail is just mail. Moving a unique, irreplaceable historical artifact requires specialized couriers, climate-controlled transit, and massive insurance policies. $20 is incredibly cheap for safely transporting a piece of human history across 3 time zones. 46. Language is constantly evolving, which makes some people furious. An older patron demanded the library completely ban the newest edition of the Oxford Dictionary because it included modern internet slang. They felt it was destroying the English language. Lexicography is a descriptive science, meaning dictionaries simply document the words humans are actively using in society. Demanding a word be removed from the dictionary will not magically stop teenagers from saying it on the internet. 47. Public facilities see thousands of visitors daily. A woman left a scathing review because the library restrooms used single-ply toilet paper instead of plush, ultra-soft rolls. She claimed it was an insult to civic dignity. Civic plumbing infrastructure in massive buildings is incredibly fragile. Industrial single-ply paper is specifically chosen because it dissolves rapidly in water, preventing catastrophic plumbing blockages that would cost the city thousands of dollars to fix. 48. Geography changes, but printed books do not. A furious patron slammed a world atlas on the desk, yelling that the library was distributing communist propaganda because the map still showed the Soviet Union. The librarian calmly pointed out the publication date was 1988. Atlases are historical snapshots of global borders at the exact moment they went to the printing press. They do not magically update themselves overnight like a GPS application on your phone. 49. Borrowing a book is a legally binding contract. A man who refused to return a $50 photography book was eventually sent to a municipal collection agency. He came in screaming that the library ruined his credit score over a piece of paper. When you keep public property, the automated municipal software registers it as theft of city assets. Ignoring the warnings for 6 months guarantees the debt collectors will get involved to recoup the taxpayer loss. 50. Eating at the computer stations is heavily restricted for a reason. A patron spilled a massive sticky soda directly onto a mechanical keyboard, instantly destroying it. When asked to leave for the day, he argued it was just an accident and the library should easily replace it. Sugar and liquid violently short-circuit delicate computer motherboards. The municipal budget does not exist to buy new hardware every week just because you lack basic hand-eye coordination while drinking. 51. Many progressive libraries now offer seed lending programs for local gardeners. A woman took home some heirloom tomato seeds, planted them, and returned 3 months later to complain that her tomatoes were slightly too acidic. She demanded the library refund her the cost of her fertilizer. Soil chemistry, direct sunlight, and proper watering are entirely the responsibility of the gardener. The library simply provides the genetic material, they do not control the local weather patterns. 52. Safety protocols are not suggestions. During a loud, flashing fire alarm evacuation, a patron refused to leave his chair, complaining that the noise was interrupting his study session. He demanded the firefighters give him 10 more minutes to finish his chapter. Fire codes mandate the immediate evacuation of the entire structure to prevent mass casualties. Your midterm exam prep does not legally override the fire marshal's authority during a potential structural emergency. 53. Technology has deeply confused our brains. A patron called the circulation desk to complain that the physical hardcover book she borrowed was broken because she could not read it in her dark bedroom. She genuinely expected the paper to glow like her Kindle screen. Traditional books are completely reliant on external ambient light bouncing off the paper into your retinas. Physical ink does not have a hidden battery-powered backlight. 54. Library book clubs are a great way to build community. However, one aggressive member filed a formal complaint to the library board because the club democratically voted to read a mystery novel instead of her preferred science fiction choice. She called it a rigged election. Community programs operate on majority rule to ensure fairness. Attempting to launch a political coup over a fictional murder mystery completely misses the point of a friendly neighborhood reading group. 55. Reference books are massive, expensive, and critical for research. A student threw a fit when he was told he could not check out a $500 medical encyclopedia to take to his dorm room. He claimed the library was restricting access to knowledge. Reference materials are strictly non-circulating, so they remain permanently available to the entire community 24/7. If one person takes it home, the entire city loses access to that data. 56. Reading physical newspapers is becoming a lost art. A businessman complained that the daily financial paper left black smudges on his expensive white shirt cuffs and demanded the library provide protective gloves. Newspaper printing uses incredibly cheap, fast-drying petroleum-based inks that never actually set completely. Friction from your hands will always lift the pigment. The library does not control the global printing press industry or your choice of expensive wardrobe. 57. Libraries frequently host local art exhibitions to support civic culture. A patron filed a massive grievance demanding the removal of an abstract painting in the lobby because the harsh red colors made him feel weird. Public arts funding requires showcasing diverse community perspectives, not just paintings of pleasant landscapes. An art piece challenging your emotions is actually the entire point of the display, not a reason to censor a local artist. 58. People severely overestimate human capabilities. A patron grew highly suspicious and filed a complaint when the librarian admitted she had not personally read a specific obscure novel from the 1970s. He accused her of being unqualified for her job. A standard public library holds over 100,000 unique items. Even if a librarian read one book every single day, it would take them nearly 300 years to finish the entire collection. 59. To encourage new genres, libraries wrap books in brown paper with just a few clues, calling it a blind date with a book. A woman violently tore the paper off at the desk and screamed that she hated historical fiction, demanding to know why they tricked her. The literal definition of a blind date is that you do not know what you are getting. If you hate surprises, just pick a normal book off the shelf. 60. Access to premium academic databases like JSTOR is incredibly expensive. A college dropout demanded the librarian give him the master password so he could share it with his friends online. When denied, he called them gatekeepers of truth. Libraries pay tens of thousands of dollars for secure, authenticated access licenses. Handing out master passwords to the public violates massive corporate contracts and would instantly trigger a lawsuit, shutting down access for the entire city. 61. Shelving books requires understanding basic spatial physics. A patron complained that the massive, oversized art books were placed on special lower shelves instead of mixed in with the standard-sized books. They felt it was disorganized. Folio shelving exists because gravity and structural integrity demand it. If you put a 20-pound, 2-foot-tall art book on a standard shelf, it will physically crush the smaller books and eventually break the wooden shelving unit. 62. The rise of artificial intelligence has created lazy researchers. A student demanded the reference librarian just ask ChatGPT to write his history paper instead of showing him where the physical books were located. He claimed reading was outdated. Large language models frequently hallucinate fake citations and invent historical events. Librarians rely on peer-reviewed, verifiable truth published by actual experts, not a predictive text algorithm that just makes up convincing lies. 63. A furious shopper marched up to the reference desk demanding the library validate her expensive parking ticket for a private mall across the street. Her logic? She had briefly used the library lobby as a shortcut to reach the shoe store, so they owed her a refund. Public libraries are funded by municipal tax dollars. They do not have secret corporate partnerships to subsidize your weekend shopping spree at a privately owned commercial retail complex. 64. A major issue librarians face is the drop-and-dash parent. A mother left her 3 toddlers alone in the children's section for 4 hours while she went to a hair salon. When security finally called her, she filed a furious complaint, claiming the library was failing its duty as a free civic daycare center. Libraries are information hubs, not licensed childcare facilities. Leaving young kids unattended among thousands of strangers is a massive child endangerment liability, not a public service. 65. Global media has strict rules. A patron bought a cheap DVD while on vacation in Europe and aggressively complained when the library computers refused to play it. He accused the library of having cheap, broken equipment. Film distributors encode optical media with specific regional locks to control global release dates and copyright laws. A North American disk drive is physically programmed to reject European disks. It is corporate restriction, not a broken computer. 66. Municipal employees get federal holidays off just like everyone else. A furious man left a hateful voicemail because the library was locked on Thanksgiving Day. He argued that knowledge never sleeps, so the doors should never close. Libraries are government buildings tied to the city halls, funding, and staffing schedules. Librarians are actual human beings with families, not monastic guardians who live in the basement waiting to hand you a book on a major national holiday. 67. Self-publishing is easier than ever, but library catalogs are strict. A local author screamed at the director because her self-published amateur poetry book was not instantly added to the statewide search database. Professional library catalogs run on complex MARC records and specific metadata standards. You cannot just drop a spiral-bound notebook on the desk and expect it to automatically synchronize with the global database of published literature. 68. Post-pandemic remote work changed everything. A man set up a full mobile office in the quiet reading room and started loudly conducting a corporate video meeting. When told to lower his voice, he complained the library was hostile to small businesses. Public libraries provide shared acoustic zones. A quiet room is designated for silent focus. Using it to scream at your remote sales team shows a complete lack of basic social awareness. 69. Resource hoarding is a real problem. A patron tried to check out 400 DVDs at once to start their own weekend rental business. When the computer blocked the transaction at 50 items, they accused the library of suppressing their entrepreneurial spirit. The entire system relies on the velocity of circulating items. Borrowing limits are hard-coded into the software to ensure that the rest of the tax-paying public actually has something left to watch on a Friday night. So, next time you visit a library, remember, they do not control the weather or the space-time continuum. Now, I have to know, what is the absolute dumbest thing you have ever seen someone complain about in a public place? Do not hold back. Drop the most unhinged stories down in the comments. If you learned something new or just enjoyed the chaos, hit that like button and subscribe for more.